Hello and welcome, I'm Darren, and today we're going to talk about RT. So it's RT part 2. It's not just about RT, we're going to talk about gaming in general. We're going to talk about Nvidia being scummy. That's probably about all that's lined up for the moment, so let's kick off with RT. And let's kick off with the most recent game, the one that everyone's talking about, the one that people are losing their shit over, Black Myth Wukong. So I've seen a lot of positives for the game. I played a bit of the game last night. I put up some footage of the game last night. So far I'm enjoying it. I thought I would enjoy it. It was a game that I was looking forward to. I don't want to say that it's a Souls-like game. That's probably, I know I'll get corrected if I did say it was a Souls-like game, but it does kind of, for me, it does play in that kind of style, and it actually plays in a style which I appreciate, and almost a style that I didn't click with, oh God, what's it called now? Fuck me, talk about mind blank. Elden Ring. I didn't click with Elden Ring. And I kind of didn't click with Elden Ring because it was in an open world format. And I came to Elden Ring from the Dark Souls games. So I played Dark Souls 2, I played Dark Souls 3. Those are in my all-time favourite games. And the thing about those games were, they took me... At first I avoided them like the plague. And I can understand that they're either a game that you're going to love or you're going to hate. And I thought I was going to hate them when I first started playing Dark Souls 2, I think it was. I think I decided that I did hate it, and then I went back to it, and then I loved it. And then the third one came along. It was my most anticipated game, and I absolutely loved it. And they're probably the last two games that I probably actually finished. Now, when Elden Ring came along, I again thought this is going to be amazing. And I didn't click with it. And I don't think... I think the reason I didn't click was... And this is going to sound really odd to a lot of people. But I didn't feel like I had a sense of direction in the game. And I kind of... Obviously, you can tell I'm not young anymore. I have certain responsibilities in life. I have work, I have children, I have a house, I have a lot of things that I have to do. Gaming is my pastime. I don't get a lot of time in gaming, so what I don't get is a lot of time to watch endless amounts of videos before I then sit down to and then actually try and play the game. And I found that's how, or what I needed to do with Elden Ring, because I just didn't know where to go in the game. It's like I'd go in one direction, get my ass absolutely kicked, and think, holy shit, okay, I'm not ready for that direction. I'll go off in this direction. Am I going to find what I need? Do I need to go in a different direction to get armor? In fact, like, what the fuck am I doing? Whereas in the Dark Souls games, because they are so linear, you just had a path to follow. And I'm not saying that you couldn't go off in different directions or you couldn't get to a certain boss and decide you're not ready. You can come back at a later time. But you had a certain path to follow, and you would, generally, as a rule of thumb, by the time you unlocked and got to the next area on the path that you're following, you should kind of technically have got to the level that you need to be in that new area. Now, I'm not sure if Black Myth Wukong is going to be in the same, but it looks to be the same. And that's why I was looking forward to the game, and I started the game, and I'm happy with it. Now, I am playing with it at this moment in time because I have the AMD system at my desk. The 4080 system at the moment is on my sim rig, so I am playing it on the AMD system. And I'm surprised at the backlash that I've seen. Now, I'm not going to say it's only from AMD users, because it's not. But there is a lot of backlash from AMD users. And I'm kind of surprised because I'm playing it just fine. Now, there is the UE5 stutter, and you can kind of get over that. The one thing I did notice is Yes, it's there in the open world as you're moving from scene to scene, but actually in the boss fights, I've run perfectly smooth in the boss fights. They are in generally an enclosed area. So you're not getting that stutter moving from scene to scene. You're in that scene, and I've been fine with it. Now, other people might have problems, I don't know. I did have a crashing issue to start with. I worked around it. It's fine. It's a day one release game. It is what it is. But I've seen a lot of people kind of, and not everyone, because this game has been extremely popular, but the negativity I have seen, I think, is unjustified, and that's kind of where I want to go through. And because it's not just thrown at this game, it's thrown at a lot of games, and I honestly don't understand it. And the first one being ray tracing. Instantly, it's the same old stuff. Nvidia have destroyed the game. Nvidia have wrecked the game for everyone. Nvidia this, Nvidia that, because it has ray tracing in the game. Just turn the fucking ray tracing off. Like, seriously, just turn it off. They haven't destroyed the game. The game's not destroyed because you can turn it off. It would have to be forced on you that you had to use it for them to have destroyed the game. Please understand that, because I find it so fucking frustrating. It's something that I just don't get. But even then, people are saying that it's too demanding, and it is extremely demanding. But you have to look at it in this way, because people have complained for too long that games become too dated too quickly. Okay, so now we're in a situation where developers are actually putting in features like the cinematic, settings, so on and so forth, that are probably more designed for future GPUs and future CPUs, etc., etc. Like, take it. You don't have to fucking use it. You don't have to use those settings. They are there to make the game a bit more future-proofed than what it would be if the game launched on this current generation of GPUs that it was designed to run on just these. What happens to it next year when half the people are running on new stuff? What do the developers then have to go out and be like, oh shit, well, okay, now these GPUs have 2 times the performance, so we got some work to do here, because this game's now already starting to look dated compared to everything else that's released. Like, what's wrong with that? I don't see why people have a problem with a game releasing with much higher graphical settings than what you can run at the moment, if you're able to turn them down, and you are able to turn them down in that game. There is so much different settings in there. All of the upscales are in there. So it's like, how many games do you see that get released nowadays at day one with DLSS, FSR, FSR frame generation, DLSS frame generation? I think XCSS is in there. You've got everything there. It might not be the newest version. I don't think it's the newest DLSS. I don't think it's the newest FSR. But it's a new enough version that you've got your frame generations on both sides with it. And it's got some RT in there. So it's got something for everyone. They have literally catered for everyone. But what they haven't done is forced anything upon anyone. There is nothing in there that is forced. You don't have to run the cinematic settings. You don't have to run with RT. You don't have to run with frame generation. You've got from cinematic to low on a wealth of different options that you can turn off and you can turn back on, and obviously you've got your different resolutions that you can choose for. You can cater that game to play for anything. And the backlash from some people, like, absolutely makes no sense to me. I honestly, I don't understand it. It's strange. It's like, and like I said, I'm not saying this is from every AMD user, but when you buy an AMD GPU, you've probably decided that you're not interested in RT. That's your fucking decision, right? Like, my decision when I bought this AMD GPU was the fact that I decided that for this system, I wasn't bothered about RT. And generally, I bought this system for my sim racing rig. And sim racing is not something that I'm ever going to put RT in. So that was my decision. I made that decision. That doesn't mean now that I've got some fucking moral high ground that I can expect every game from now on to launch without RT because I didn't want it. and fuck everyone else. Like, it doesn't work like that. Like, I find that really, really, like, it actually blows my mind. If people out there bought ray tracing capable GPUs, well, I've got no problem if developers put our ray tracing in the game. Just don't add it in so that it can't be disabled. If it can be disabled, why would it bother me? That's like me saying, I'm going to be vegetarian and I'm going to go in every restaurant in the world and I'm going to demand that they don't allow anyone else in that restaurant to have meat because I'm vegetarian. And that's what I want. I made that decision, and now anyone else that wants something the opposite, nah, fuck them. They're not allowed that. Like, it's a really strange way to be. I don't understand it. I mean, I actually hope that this is now a new thing, that actually game developers are future-proofing games, because some of these games might turn out to be awesome games that we're still going to be playing in the next 10 years' time. There's people now, I'm still seeing people now that are just moving to PC, that are just starting to play Cyberpunk. And how old's Cyberpunk? People are just starting to play that now. So what was wrong with a game like that being future-proofed? What's wrong with games that are launching today or in 2 months' time or 3 weeks' time, whatever it is? What's wrong with those having settings way higher for future GPUs so that they've got some future-proofing for the next 5 or 6 years if they turn out to be incredible games? What's wrong with that? As long as you have the option that you can play it now, because I've already seen like the comments and the backlash over Black Myth Wukong. Well, I've seen the new Star Wars game, whatever that's called. I've seen the demands on that one, and that isn't looking good. And then I think I saw that the new Indiana Jones game is launching with full ray tracing. Well, full ray tracing seems to be the new word for path tracing. I don't know why. I don't know if that doesn't trigger people as much as path tracing, just calling it full ray tracing. So what's going to happen there? It is what it is. As long as you can turn it off, why does it matter? Like, why are people so upset over it? I find it strange. There's no point in me carrying on, but I actually think Black Myth Wukong, from as far as I played on it, now whether I like the game or not is a different matter of, you know what I mean? It's irrelevant as such. But the fact that they've launched it with what they've launched, they're probably the first, and I think they deserve some credit for being being the first studio to actually release for free a benchmark that you could, obviously, if you were undecided over whether you wanted to buy the game, you had 2 days or 3 days, wherever it was, where there was a benchmark tool that you could check. You could see the performance that the game would be demanding, and you could then decide whether you wanted to buy the game. I mean, how many studios have done something like that? I mean, that probably takes a bit of confidence in your product that you're going to say, here you go, we're not going to make you buy it and then realise you're screwed. We're going to allow you to check it out. You're going to see that it's demanding, and then it's up to you. I think they deserve credit for that. And more than anything, they deserve credit for not getting involved in the bullshit politics that are in gaming industry now. Like, it's a joke. And they've just stood back from all of it and said, no, not interested in any of that. We're making a game. That's it. It's a game. We're making it the way that we want to make the game. It's on the storyline that we want to make the game with. And that's it. And if you don't like it for that reason, that's fine. If we don't have a certain subset of whatever workers that work for our company that doesn't make you happy, don't care. We're making a game. And I like that. And I think they should be applauded for that. Not have negative pushback because they decided to, have some RT in the game that if people don't want to use it, they can just turn it off, like I did with this GPU when I played it last night, and I played just fine and I was happy playing the game. I didn't sit there saying I hate this game because it has RT in it. I played the game. I enjoyed the game. I'm looking forward to carrying on playing the game tonight. So there we go. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know why it would offend you if a feature is added into the game to cater for a brand of GPU that maybe you didn't buy. Like, should I, as a NVIDIA user, be upset if XeSS is added into a game because it's not the upscaler that I use? So why should it be there? I don't want to use it. Should I demand that it's not there? Or should I talk negative about the game because it's had an upscaler added to it from a different, you know what I mean? Should I mean, to be fair, I've said it for a long time, like the new frame generation, FSR3 frame generation on the AMD system generally outperforms NVIDIA. I'm not sure if latency to latency it quite compares, but in terms of your overall FPS gain, performance gain through FSR3 frame generation, it generally outperforms DLSS frame generation. Now, should I demand that it's not in my games, or should I boycott my games? Should I boycott a game because it has FSR3 frame generation? Because I'm a NVIDIA fanboy? Would I get backlash, or would I just say, no, it's got FSR3 frame generation in it, that game's shit? Is that reasonable? Because I'm upset because it performs better than the frame generation that I use. I mean, I think that would be childish as fuck, but I don't know. Tell me, let me know in the comments. But next in the news, I was listening to Daniel Owen's video today, and I've got to admit I was quite surprised. Well, I wasn't surprised. Saying I'm surprised is wrong. I'm disappointed. Now, I don't know if this is going to happen. Whether it gets enough backlash that it doesn't happen, which has happened before. But I've seen NVIDIA have announced the release of the 4070 with gddr6, so the lesser VRAM memory than the gddr6X, and it would appear that they are not actually making it obvious to the consumer that it now has the lesser, I would probably say cheaper and lower bandwidth memory than the gddr6 that it normally would have. Now, I think that is a scummy fucking move. I kind of hoped that they would do two things. They would either do it and drop the price, or they would do it and add more. So I kind of hoped, because I think it would probably have a good place in the marketplace, I kind of hope they do a 4070 with 16 gigabytes of the 6 rather than the 12 gigabytes of this 6X. So to kind of make up for it. Now, I don't know what the cost of 6 is compared to 6X. I don't know if the cost would equate in that way. But if they are going to literally just sell this GPU with no mention, because I'll know it, and certain people will obviously know it, and certain people will look out for it, but not everyone's going to know. And if they literally just sell it as a 4070 with absolute no mention of it at the exact same price, with a slight, I don't think it's, from what obviously was said on Daniel's video, it doesn't seem like it will be a huge performance loss, but it's still a performance loss. But not only is it a performance loss, it's still older tech, and it's still, I'm pretty positive, cheaper tech. And I think that the consumer deserves to be aware of that. So at the moment, I haven't seen them on sale. I can't say this has happened, but if you've watched Daniel's video, or if you haven't watched it, he explains in there. I think it's, one of the brands of one of the NVIDIA brands. I can't remember which brand it was, Gainwood or maybe something like that. I think has their, the packaging for the 4070, and it doesn't appear to be any type of mention of the memory change. So I'm not impressed. It is what it is. I don't like it. We'll wait and see. I kind of hope that enough backlash happens that something has to change, because I don't like it as a practice. I don't want to see that happening, whether it be NVIDIA, Intel, or AMD. Now, there was something else that was going to lead into what I was going to talk about before that, but I can't actually remember what it was now. So I think that's probably enough for this subject. Yeah, I think that's kind of about as far as I'm going to go. But let me know in the comments. Let me know how dishonest you think that may be of NVIDIA. And let me know how you feel about like the overall performance of our current GPUs in games or in soon to be released games. Do you think that games should be released only in a state where you can fit, you can crank everything on ultra and it will play perfectly fine on our current GPUs? I don't understand that. I personally think that games should be designed with some future proofing added in, and as long as those settings can either be turned off or lowered, I personally think that's a good thing. I think that's what people were demanding. I still think that there's some of my favorite games still to this point are games like Red Dead Redemption 2 that still holds up very well, but one day it won't. And when that day comes that it no longer holds up, I'd almost feel bad if it wasn't remastered. Because that's the thing. I mean, I'm sure everyone's got a favorite game from like 10 years ago or 12 years ago that they think, I'd love to carry on playing this game, but it looks like shit now. Well, we're kind of trying to fix that, or maybe that's trying to get fixed at the moment. Maybe these games are being developed with some future proofing in mind, and now it seems like people are losing their shit because the games are hard to run on the highest settings. I mean, I don't know. There's not a huge deal of difference in the Black Myth Wukong from high to cinematic. So you've got high, you've got very high in cinematic. You've got a fair bit of performance that you can gain there. You've got all the upscalers in there. Upscalers are doing a pretty good job now. You can turn off RT. It seems strange to kind of lose your shit over. And I've seen a lot of comments of people. I've seen a lot of comments of people that have that haven't played the game. They are not willing to give the game a chance because it has RT in it. I'm like, holy shit, really? Like, wow. The game's got RT in it, which you can turn off. But your comment is, it's a NVIDIA game and it's a NVIDIA of fuck the game for everyone. Really? So that's your thoughts on the game? I don't know. That's a strange mentality of someone that is kind of in this industry or within this hobby, whatever you want to call it, because they like games, to turn around and say that a game's shit that you haven't tried because it has a feature added to it to cater for someone that's bought a different brand of GPU than you. And that's upset you. Wow. I call that pretty fucking self-entitled, I'm going to be honest. There we go. I'm going to leave it there. Like I said, I'm not aiming this at any given person. It's not an attack on any given person. I just find it very strange. I would understand it. I think the only game that I've seen it in, funny enough, is Avatar, which I believe is an AMD title, which I believe they added. I don't know if it was Lumen. No, I don't think it was Lumen because it's not an Unreal Engine 5 game. I think they added some sort of ray tracing into one of the actual graphic settings. So you can't go in there and just turn off RT. I think you have to lower a certain number of graphical settings. Maybe it's just like from the very high preset. I'm not sure. I haven't played the game. but I have heard it mentioned various times that it's baked in as such. Now, as far as I'm aware, that's the only game that exists at this point. I could be completely wrong. I didn't go and play every game. But now that I could understand people being upset about that type of practice. I mean, admittedly, I don't think it particularly hurts in that game. One, it's an AMD sponsored game, so they haven't done it. They've made sure it doesn't hurt the performance of the AMD GPUs, and if it doesn't hurt the performance of the AMD GPUs, well, in turn, then it's not going to hurt the performance of the NVIDIA GPUs because they're going to handle ray tracing slightly better. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a big deal. But that would be something that I give people. I can understand people having grounds to argue against. I can understand someone saying, RT's in this game and I can't turn it off. So they have purposely done this to make my GPU run bad. I completely understand that. But when you can turn it off, what can I say? It's like, just hover over it and just click off and then play the game and enjoy the game without it. You don't need to feel aggrieved trying to play the game, chewing on your cheeks because there's a feature on there that you decided that you didn't want when you bought a certain GPU, and that you just can't get over it, that this studio has dared to add a feature into a game to cater for a different brand of GPU that you decided that you didn't want because you didn't want that feature. Very strange. I'll leave it there. If not, I'll be going on for hours. So if you watched and you liked, swing me a like, please. If you like this type of content, maybe think about subscribing. It'd be good for me to know if I should even bother doing this anymore or not. And I'll catch you in the next one.